All right, guys. Sergeant Freddie Camacho back here with another episode of the lineup card where we introduce you guys to the men and women of Union City PD. We haven't got a woman on yet. I'm trying to convince one of them to interview. So let's hear some shout outs out there on the comments to get some of the girls to do an interview with me. They're all scared. I don't know why. All right, but today I'm here with Motor Officer Mike Silva. This could be a controversial interview in the comment section because motor cops are the guys that nobody really likes to see because usually they're giving you a ticket, and that's just kind of falls in their duties. So, Mike, how long you been with the department?
Almost 13 years.
Holy smokes. And how long you been in traffic?
Finishing up my 8th year now.
Yeah, we started together, right?
Pretty much within a couple months. I think you're like 2-3 months after me.
And I was only stuck around 2 years. I promoted out. But you're still there?
Still there. He got tired of me. I guess he wanted to move on to bigger and better things. But, no.
Did you know how to ride a motorcycle when you became a traffic officer? Everyone knows that traffic officers predominantly, most of them ride motorcycles. So,
yeah, I've never ridden a bike before in my life prior to this. I was interested in the unit from the time maybe I was my second year in. Kind of saw the other guys actually riding the bike, doing enforcement. Thought I'd be interested in it. So as I put in, you put in as well, and another officer put in. Thinking obviously you were more senior to me as far as with experience and so forth. The other guy thinking, well, I had no chance, but what the heck, I'll put in for the experience. By chance, we ended up both getting the position. So I taught myself a little bit, did a motorcycle safety class, hours of training. After that, actually became infatuated with it, wanted to learn more, became a motor instructor as well. Myself and Officer Baschek are motor instructors for the department. We tend to teach all the new guys as well. We're currently teaching somebody right now to actually ride the bike, so we send him to motor school coming up here either possibly in November or March. But it's a lot of fun. I can't think of a better position in the department.
how many times did you crash in that first month?
I couldn't even keep count. I mean, luckily they're all slow speeds, but it's an actual very difficult way of riding, as you very well know. I've well over 100 times. I mean, when you haven't ridden a bike before in your life and you got 1,000, pounds underneath you and that thing goes, it's going to go, and it's hard to keep up. And there's a lot to it with the clutch, the gas, and so forth. But definitely, it takes some getting used to, as you very well know. I mean, even experienced riders still fall to this day, and you can relate, definitely.
I think a funny story. We were at a stoplight once, and we were gonna high-low on Mission Boulevard. This is a funny story. In front of the Starbucks over there at Mission Boulevard, where the Mission Gateway apartments are at.
Right,
and hey, let's do high-low, which is where we end up switching in the middle of the turn as we're making the U-turn. And we went to go and make the switch, and he tipped over and fell.
Well, it's funny though, because he came up to me and he says, I'll go high, you go low. I said, okay, I'll go low. So as he starts to go and I go inside, the gears shift at it first into neutral, and there I went, tipped over, and he goes, not that low, and I'm like, oh no. But you talk about the embarrassment in front of everybody. I picked that thing up like it was nothing.
Yeah, I made sure to hit my siren so that everybody saw that he was down in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah, probably one of my most embarrassing moments here at the department for sure. The last thing you want to do is, fall in the middle of an intersection, and especially Mission Boulevard, and get hurt. But yeah, that was pretty fun.
So how many traffic investigations have you been involved with, you think, over the course of 8 years?
Well, anywhere from hit and run collisions with minor injuries, no injuries, to serious injuries, fatal collisions as well. You're talking maybe anywhere well over, maybe 100 or so. Fatals, thank goodness, not so many, maybe less than about 5 to 6, maybe 7. But for the most part, it's something I really enjoy. Again, but it's definitely
You talk to?
Yeah, definitely a lot of investigative aspects of it going into it. But roughly maybe over 50 to 100 at least.
So leading into that, you have we've both investigated our fair share of fatal accidents. A lot of our fatal accidents here in Union City have been involving pedestrians. So this month has been Pedestrian Awareness Month.
Yes.
So can you kind of explain a little bit about what that is and why it's important?
Well, I believe in California during the month of September, it's strictly pedestrian awareness. So what that entails is, as officers with the traffic unit, we tend to go out there and do enforcement not only for violations that pedestrians commit, but also for vehicles that commit violations towards pedestrians, such as not stopping for a pedestrian in the crosswalk, also not stopping for pedestrians on the sidewalk, crossing a driveway, pedestrians mainly jaywalking, and that seems to be the #1 cause of our fatalities that we've had. When they do include pedestrians, it's jaywalking. And and as you stop them, I can understand that, the seriousness. Pedestrians may not feel that it's that important, but as you kind of put yourself in my shoes, most of these collisions, I get called sometimes 3, 4 in the morning to come out to investigate these collisions for something that could easily have been avoided by, having the pedestrian use a crosswalk. And you may think that you're never going to get hit by a car, but it just takes that one lapse in attention where you look in the distance rather than what's there close to you, and you step right off the curb. And next thing you know, you're either on the hood, in the windshield, or up in the air flipping over these cars. And it's and it's happened, and not only in our city, but it happens all over the country. So we really try to enforce, hey, use a crosswalk, make sure you cross on the hand signal, or again, not against the hand signal, but on the walk signal, and definitely always look both ways, and really be cognizant of where the cars are at. So I mean, so many of these collisions, they happen because people are in such a rush. They just want to get one side to the other side, and they're not really looking, they're running. And that's kind of how it usually starts and how it happens.
Can you explain just real quick before we close this out, and you get back to work here? What is jaywalking? Because a lot of people don't understand jaywalking, because there is actually has to do with the signals and crosswalks, and not just in a residential street.
So as a matter of fact, I actually stopped a gentleman the other day who actually was adamant he wasn't jaywalking, but he really didn't know what it was. But what it is when you cross a street in between 2 controlled intersections. Now what I mean by controlled intersections is if there's a traffic light at an intersection on one side and a traffic light on the other end of the street, and you cross that street when there's those 2 controlled intersections on either side, you are now committing the offense of what we call 21-955 of the Vehicle Code, which is jaywalking. So if you're doing it in your own residential neighborhood, obviously there's no controlled intersection, so crossing the street in a residential neighborhood, even though we ask, hey, be really careful when you're doing so, because people get hit by cars there as well, it's not considered jaywalking because you don't have those controlled intersections with the traffic lights. So yeah, you definitely, most of our issues we do have around Broadhouse and Dakota Road, but definitely 2 controlled intersections, don't cross in between the 2.
And lastly, I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear this. Everybody knows, we all know, school's back in session, so people are out in the road in droves during pickup and drop-off time. Just remember to try and be patient with people. I know, leave earlier if you can. But what is the traffic unit? I know it's like a big concern for you guys about the traffic around the schools and the way people act around the schools when they're dropping people off. And what would you suggest, or what are you guys doing for that?
Each officer in the traffic unit are assigned to certain schools. We have such a huge population of students that go to our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, that traffic is a huge concern. It's a huge mess. We get a lot of complaints due to traffic, and rightly so. I mean, we got a lot of kids that go to each one of these schools, and it does create congestion with all the cars because there are no buses. All I ask is, just be patient. If I mean, it could be, your child that get hit by a car. I mean, you want to be very, very, cognizant of the fact that when you're driving around, there's kids coming in and out of cars, in between cars that are parked on the sideway. We're out there making sure, #1, safety is for the kids. We want to make sure no kids get hurt. And not only kids, but there are parents that walk their kids to school, parents as well, teachers, staff. We just want to make sure everybody gets to where they got to go to safely. And just be cognizant when you're around these schools. There are signs posted saying specific no turns between certain times and so forth. They're there for the safety of the pedestrians and the kids out in the neighborhood. So just be really cognizant. Don't be in a rush. If you want to avoid the whole thing altogether, stay out of the actual area. Drop your kid off a little bit on the outside. Maybe walk them to the school rather than just get in in the middle of everything and cause even more of a congestion that there already is. But
Gotcha.
Definitely drive carefully.
Cool. So when you bust back to patrol?
I am, and I'm sure a lot of you probably will be very happy, but I will be out of the unit. It looks like come out here maybe January, I will be back in a patrol car. But I'll still be out there doing enforcement. Traffic is a real passion of mine. I love doing this. Just because I'm not on a bike doesn't mean I'm going to stop what I love to do. It just means that I'm currently assigned to a different aspect of the department. But again, this is something that I will never stop doing. It's something that I strive for and I enjoy doing.
You guys heard it. He's still going to be writing tickets because he loves to enforce traffic. And
Not so much writing the
educate
tickets,
people.
but definitely love to educate and do enforcement when enforcement's needed. But again, it's all about safety. Just get to where you got to go to safely.
Right on. All right, people. Union City.
See
Catch
ya.
you next time.